record this right now and start recording. So first of all, let's talk about kind of where we're at, and I guess people's rights in general. And I hope that we can get I could get a lot of feedback from you, because when we first began, we had a goal to unite neighbors in defending each other's rights. That goal is always going to be the same. But then we use the term politically, physically, or legally, and physically. And I would like to talk about how we think we're doing in those three categories. So we've had experiences already in the last 3 months in all three of them, right? But I would like to talk a little bit more about, what you think political looks like, legal looks like, and physical looks like, and have we done that? And what does that look like in the future? So feel free, like, if you're not going to talk, probably unmute or probably mute, but let's try to have somewhat of a conversation here on Zoom. There's 10 of us here, so I don't think it'll be too crazy. So maybe we take the political first. First of all, what do you see that we've done? What do you see that we've done as political? No.
I think we lost.
There we are. Hang on, my internet is just terrible right now. I'm going to try to stop something real quick here. Okay, that might help me out. Okay, so political, what do you see that we've done has been political, and what do you view political as in the people's rights? Just feel free to speak. Just try to speak one at a time. First come, first serve. So.
Well, I think yesterday's meeting at the Capitol of having the legislators down there was a political move. And I think people's rights had something to do with that. Also, having representatives come to meetings and discuss
more and and become more associated with each other, which is all going to help in the political side. Of course, joining with the signing the petition, and helping out there. That's pretty good unification politically, and I think the right move as well.
Okay. Any others political that you view as political defense? Any others?
I think contacting our legislators, just encouraging people to have a relationship with them, calling them, emailing them, and did with them, just encouraging them to go to the state capitol and meet on the 23rd to, talk to the governor. And so, yeah, I think that's
okay. Any other thoughts?
I live in the Jerome County, Twin Falls County, districts 24 and 25. If you know legislators, those 6 have about the worst reputation in Boise of any of them. They're non-engaging. You can't talk to them. You can't give them information. They are not going to be educated. 2 of them yesterday made sure, Patrick and Likely, made sure they slipped off with Little to the Wood River Valley to stand by a creek somewhere instead of being where they should have been. So direct political involvement down here is just basically voter education, I think, is one of the big things I see. had a gal contact me last week from Haley, which was interesting. You know, wanting more togetherness, more education. What do we do with these guys? And as I see it, 24 and 25, other than Paul Thompson running against Clow, we're stuck with 5 of them for 2 years.
Yeah, you have a choice of them or a Democrat, which, you know, people are.
Well, and
right
we
now.
don't even have Democrats that running against them down here, Ammon. They just pretty much. I mean, occasionally we do, and at this point, I would vote for a Democrat just to vote them out. I mean,
Right.
we have horrendous. They vote with the Democrats, so really we wouldn't lose anything.
No, at least you'd know who they were if they were a Democrat, right? So, thank you, Lyle. Go ahead.
I was just wondering how we would, or whether we would be open to running our own candidates in the future.
Well, that kind of it brings me a little bit to one of the points I want to make and hope that we can come to, is that this political, that when we talk about in people's rights political, we're talking about a defense, right? A defense for the individual. And it's only one method of defense. And there's a lot of ways it looks. And so, like what happened yesterday with the legislatures, I think was wonderful in many ways, but on the same hand, really didn't do ultimately a whole lot to protect the people, to defend the people. And that's where, you know, it gets discouraging, because we're trying to create these barriers, right, from the people's, or to the people's rights, meaning we want the barrier of political protection. We want them to create these barriers, and you know, not allow things like what Governor Little is doing to, you know, to threaten us, and threaten the people. And when they won't put up those barriers or use it properly, it's frustrating. So then we look at other. So there are other. I want to point out though that there's other political defenses, and what I mean by that is like what we did. I look at like what we did going to the police officer's house as a political defense, and because it politically puts pressure on them to not infringe upon people's rights. And although, you know, a lot of people disagreed with us doing that, and I'm fine with them disagreeing with us, but since then in Idaho, no more did they try to enforce people going into parks, and you know, and many other things. And because I think they realized, whether they acknowledge it or not, whether they discussed it and decided not to or not, what it ended up doing is it truly created an accountability to the people. And it, you know, I believe that it probably spilled way beyond the borders of Idaho too, because it did get national attention. And even though Sarah kind of, you know, in my opinion, kind of wavered from it, which is fine. I understand the pressure that she was under. It still was effective for many people across the state and even in other states of, you know, creating accountability to, you know, law enforcement, political officers, and so forth. So even though we're not actually going out, you know, not what I mean, we're not actually trying to influence someone who is elected, we're still using our political power as a body to defend and protect rights. And so, in fact, a lot of times that is more effective. Like, I don't know if you remember Kylie, she was a little 13-year-old girl that was taken in Washington. And her mother was fighting to get her back, and then we got involved. Well, we started protest. Well, not me, but the people that was there were organizing protests at the prosecutor's house, at the CPS agent's house, at the CPS office, and we were calling names such as the judges' names and everything. And the mom had 9 months of just really hell trying to get her daughter back, even get to visit her daughter. In the midst of that, they forced a surgery on her without her mother's consent. And ultimately what happened is when we got involved, less than 3 weeks later, they called an emergency hearing, and they gave the daughter back and dismissed the case. And it was simply because of the political pressure that we put on the right people. And we weren't afraid to go to their house. We weren't afraid to call a spade and to call names. And so, you know, I say these things because so that when occasions happen in your areas, you can know what's been done in the past, right? Also, the same thing with that mother and father with that little brand new baby they had. Same type of thing. People's Rights Network was organized at that time, blasted out, and within hours, a couple hundred people are there and thousands are on the way. And they knew it. And so they backed away really quick because in that situation, they were telling the mother and father, they took the baby away, wouldn't let them have any contact with them, with the baby. And they were telling the mother and the father that they were going to have to go home, be discharged from the hospital. They could not take the baby home. They would not be able to see or handle the baby. They had to go home, wait 14 days under quarantine, and then get tested. And then when the test results get back, and if they were negative, then they'd have to wait another 10 days. And then at that point, they can have the child. And this was the hospital that was saying this. And ultimately later they said that that was the directive from the Washington Department of Disease Control that was mandating that. Well, you know, with a couple hundred people and thousands coming, all of a sudden they decided to change that policy. And that is political defense, because ultimately they don't want to lose political power. And with thousands of people showing up, they know that they will, and it'll make them look bad. And then we start calling out individuals and all of that. That's how we hold them accountable. Same thing happened at the Bundy Ranch. That's why my dad still ranches today, because a bunch of people came and put a lot of political pressure on the right people, and they backed away. So any other thoughts about political defense? Any other experiences that you've had, or successes that you've seen, or maybe even thoughts or questions about what a political defense looks like?
So could we say that on a more individual level, political defense?
You cut out on us, Mel.
Am I back now?
Say it again.
But could we say that a political defense on more of a personal level would be non-compliance, things like businesses opening, Sarah, what was her name, went to that park.
Yeah, Sarah Grady.
Where you go and exercise your rights, whether or not you're allowed to.
So yeah, Mel, thank you. I think Mel brings a really great point, because natural law requires us to claim, use, and defend our rights. right? And part of defending is claiming and using, right? Saying they're mine and continuing to use them. So you're exactly right, Mel. That and yes, it does. It is part of a political, statement, if you will, like where Sarah, I thought she did the right thing, where she went to the park on purpose to make a point, and that was her right. She exercised that right. Um, and so yeah, it definitely was political. And same with like Hard Rock Brewing Company, where they opened it up. They had the lieutenant governor with them. They had Raul Lavador and some others with them while they opened it up. It certainly was a political statement while they were exercising their right, which is actually some of the most, I think, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Mel, because I think that's some of the most powerful political statements to defend rights, because you're basically declaring and making it very clear whose rights they are. So very good. Anything else? Anybody? Any others?
Yeah, with regards to Sarah, I've been thinking about how we can put pressure on the Attorney General since he has pursued the case. And Sarah mentioned yesterday that one of the legislators actually brought that up in the meeting, saying that he should drop it. So that's something that I've been kind of brainstorming and wondering how should I move forward on putting pressure on him to drop the case?
Well, that's perfect scenario to activate the people's rights in your area, right? And maybe surrounding areas. I mean, again, this is political, and sometimes it gets tiring to go to buildings and yell at them, right? And put your signs. But in a sense, it's like a first step, right? Because you got to go there and show that there's a couple hundred people that are concerned about this case, and put political pressure on the right people. And there might be other ways to do it, like going to the attorney. That's why I go to Attorney General's house. I mean, that's why they really, really do not like it when you show up at their house. It really puts pressure the right way. Where most of the time, if you go to the Capitol building or you go to the Attorney General's office, they don't care. They really don't care. You go to their house, you pass things out in the community, and really what the Attorney General is really doing is pretty disgusting. He's trying to enforce something that everybody knows is, even himself knows is just shouldn't be enforced. And so he's just trying to, back the governor in doing that and that officer. So that's good stuff, Mario. Like, I don't know, you have to figure that out, you and the others, but I definitely think there should be some action taken there. And you can invite, I don't know, we'll get into the software later, or here in a little bit, but if you plan something, of course, you can get everybody in your area to activate, right? And then you can, if you scroll to the very bottom, we're going to change it where it's a little more conspicuous, but if you scroll to the very bottom of your people's list on your homepage, you can contact and send messages to all the area assistants around you.
Mm-hmm.
So all the areas that are connecting to your area, you have the area assistants contacts, and you can reach out to them. So like area 3 contacts will be in there. You could reach out to them. Area, 5, 6, you can reach out to them and say, hey, we're going to be doing this at this time. Will you send this message out to everybody in your area? And so when you decide to do that, let us all know, right?
Yep.
Mario, playing off of that a little bit, do you think that maybe like us as Area 4 could compose an example letter to send to the district attorney and then send it out to all of our area and whoever else, encouraging them to send a letter like that or send that letter and just kind of, change change this or change that, and hit them with, bombard them with emails, and then also get together somehow, you know, and do a protest or whatever, wherever we need to.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Hey, could I contribute a couple of thoughts here? Because, so Ammon, I watched the video of, I think it's Kelly Stewart. She was in Washington yesterday. Well, I watched the video yesterday. I think it was maybe 2 days ago. They went to a prosecutor's house somewhere in Washington.
Correct.
And I thought it was awesome, right? I totally think that's awesome. Personally, I've been having feelings or thoughts the last couple of months that protests on Capitol steps are losing their effectiveness, right? They know we're coming. They don't care. They're not even in the building, right?
We're yelling at things. Yep.
They don't care. They've accounted for it. And, you know, like yesterday, I'm sure like many of you, I had mixed feelings about it. I was excited going in, disappointed coming away, like what did we accomplish, right? So I absolutely love the idea of protesting at the point of enforcement or of going to the homes of these enforcers. However, having said that, you know, Sarah Brady is my friend, and I was with the group the night that we went to Fiscus's house and everything. And I know that Sarah had mixed, you know, Sarah had feelings about that, right? Which she expressed in her news conference that Friday. So I guess my point is this. Part of me would love to go to the AG's house and protest, and I think it's appropriate. I think it's a good idea. As a matter of principle, do we care what Sarah Brady thinks about that, right? Do we consult with Sarah? Does it matter? Do we take that into account? Do we talk to her first?
I can't speak for Sarah, but I do know her well, and I do think that at this point, I think she's dumbfounded that they're continuing with the charges on her, and I think she just wants any help she can get at this point. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, we still have to ask her that question if she'd want us to do that on her behalf, but I truly think that she might be sitting at a different point right now than she was before.
So would you agree that it would be worth discussing with her before we hatch a plan? You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't, and I'm not saying we were right or we were wrong or anybody was right or wrong, but we didn't consult with her before we went to Fiscus's house. And she had thoughts and feelings. So I'm sort of saying this as a test case, like the principle here, and also specifically in this instance, right? Do we go to Sarah first before we do that?
I think we should go to Sarah.
Yeah.
Because it's her issue, and if she wants us to assist her in defending her rights, then I think it's totally appropriate.
So there's a couple, you know, having experience in this actually on both sides, there's a couple things to consider. One is a lot of times the individual is, you know, extremely kind of overwhelmed, or in the fact that I think when we went to his house, he was still incarcerated. So, I mean, you know, consulting with her would almost be impossible. There's that aspect of it. Also, you have to look at kind of the social, which I hesitate to look at this way, but you have to look at like, okay, look, what is going to make sure that this doesn't happen to somebody else? Okay. You know, what is going to actually do this? And are we only defending their rights, or are we defending other rights? I mean that as a question, because sometimes in some situations, you're only defending their right. And then, of course, you have to basically kind of get their consent and so forth, right? So, and then third is like in Sarah's case, in my opinion, she was very, very naive. Now, that doesn't mean that we still don't consult her. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just presenting the fact. Very naive in actually how rights are defended. And she still is naive. I had a conversation yesterday. I'm being frank with you all, so that because of the position we're in, and she still feels that she's going to get remedy in the courts. Well, I know because I can tell you for sure. Well, nothing's for sure, but because she stood up and denounced what we did,
Mhm.
the courts will never give her relief because he justified the officer in doing what he, well, in a sense, and basically did not stay strong to the very methods in which is going to provide her relief. And I've seen this over and over again, where people will hide publicly because they think they're going to get remedy another way. And there might have been a time where that is true, but the courts have become very political. They become political machines. And so in order to get remedy in the courts, you have to have a ton of political pressure on them. And then they're accountable. And Sarah doesn't understand these things. And I'm not saying that relinquish her of all her opinion or all, how she handles her own case. I'm just saying these things so we understand them. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, we should consult her. We should try to help her, educate her. But I can promise her, I really could, with life experience, I could promise her that without a tremendous amount of political pressure on the courts, she will not find the remedy that she seeks. And that's why that case has not been dismissed. So anyway, but then again, where's the balance, right? Where's the balance? Where's like, I'll give you one example. So the Hardware Brewing Company in, what is it? Kirkham, Idaho.
Kirkland.
So when that happened to them, they called on us, and got a hold of us, and I spoke to them directly a couple times, and then we got the area assistants involved, and then and we actually planned an event for that Friday, and then the next day or 2 days later, they called me up because it was like a Monday when we planned all of it. They called me up, and they said, "Hey, we're going to respond to ISP in a letter, kind of a notice, and we're going to see what they do. So we don't want to have a big rally right there. We don't want to have a rally. We don't, and so of course we say, well, of course that's your call, right? That's your call. We're not going to force a rally at your place, none of that stuff." So that's kind of one side. And then, so right now it's just kind of stagnant. It's, the ISP hasn't done anything. ISP knows that we're watching them because we contacted them. They know that people's rights are engaged, and maybe that's enough for them to kind of back off. But maybe not. So that's where it sets. So that's kind of, I guess that's kind of the other side. So any thoughts? I know I'm not presenting an answer here. I'm more confusing it, but any thoughts on that? Like when do you, is there any protocol that we can put in place, or is it just her situation?
I think for Sarah Brady, she, in the video when she was being taken by the police, she asked her friends to call Health Freedom Foundation. She knew the steps. She knew the steps, what she needed to do to like get help in a good way. So I don't know, like that question was like, oh, do we go to her first? She was incarcerated. You went to her, someone's house. I can't remember who, but I think that was appropriate because she knew the channels which to get help, and it was kind of sad to see her kind of back down too. But she knew the channels how to get help, and so I think how somebody, if I was being taken to prison, I would contact people's rights, and you would have the liberty to do whatever you need to do to help me, you know. Anyways.
Other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that was great perspective, because what I'm taking away from that is that if even if we activate against the person who's being persecuted's wishes, we're still letting people who in the future let them know who we are, and let them know that we are objective in our pursuing of defending natural rights. And that, I think, will add credibility to our position and probably get people less reluctant to join us.
Is there any like clear, you know, protocol that any of you can see of when it would be appropriate to activate without the person either knowing or wanting, and when it would be inappropriate to act without the people knowing and wanting? I see one, and that is when, if we act and infringe upon their rights, then that's actually absolutely a no. Like, for example, we went onto their property, right? Like the Hard Rock Brewing Company, we said we're going to have a protest and we're going to have it at your house or your facility, and we're going to go on there whether you like it or not. Obviously, completely inappropriate, right? Because we're infringing upon their rights. Maybe that type of thought can be connected with a lot of other things. But what about anything, you know, I mean, Sarah's situation is a great example, because I believe it did so much good, yet she ended up kind of denouncing it because she felt like, in fact, she did say that she kind of felt like it was her call. I think that was kind of what she said in her that, but then again, I know that she was getting tremendous amount, but is it her call? Is it her right to call those shots in that situation? Thoughts on that?
One thought I have, so I'm pretty conflicted because of my experiences in California where I came from. I had gone through all of last year and personally come around to the position that it is okay to go to a person's house, right? So in the beginning of last year, people wanted to go to Gavin Newsom's house, and I said, no, you never do that. That's not cool. By December, I was at Gavin Newsom's house. So I've gone psychologically and philosophically to this point where I think that's okay, which is why I was with you guys that night when we went to the governor's house, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So philosophically, politically, strategically, I think it's a good thing to do, but I'm friends with Sarah. So when she was having difficulties that week, I was one of the people she talked to, which is why I'm having a hard time teasing it all out for myself. And I know that one of the problems she had that gave me pause, because I can have different philosophical positions from my friends, but people threatened to come to her house. So that's hard. That's hard to deal with. Am I putting Sarah Brady and her family in danger because I contributed to this other thing? So that's sort of my problem. Does that make sense?
It does, except I think about, she knew she was going to the park. She knew that she was going to get probably national attention and possibly even arrested. And she was willing to take that danger.
But now, you know what? She didn't know, because you know what, Ammon, I was supposed to pick her up that night. She was coming with me. I know, well, unless she's, something is not true that I believe is true. 45 minutes after she got arrested, my husband and I were supposed to pick her up because she was coming with us that night to go to Jepson's house and to go to Little's house. So I know that she really didn't plan to get arrested. She really was going for a play date, and I believe that sincerely. And I'm not telling you you're wrong, and I'm not, I believe in what we did that night. But knowing Sarah, knowing that she had plans with me that evening to come, to come to Emmett, I don't think she did know she was going to get arrested. And I do have feelings about the fact that people threatened to come to her house. As a friend, that was hard, right?
I agree. I think that maybe I'll have a conversation with Sarah or try to understand that a little bit more.
That'd
But
be
this circumstance will probably most likely come up again.
Yeah.
I know that it came up when I was, working with the Hammonds in Harney County. That was very hard because what was happening to them was so egregious, and they were acting like they were a battered wife, because they were literally broke. They'd already been put in prison once already, and got out, and they were now having to go back for the same charges. And the list of of the egregious abuse to them was so gross that I felt like I could not. I felt like I knew, not only felt like I knew I could not just allow that to become the normal. And it was a real conflict with me, because the Hammonds ultimately got scared and then backed away from it. And it left me with the moral debate with, and with the rest of us, a moral debate of, hey, do we allow the government to strip them, like literally steal their rights and put them in prison, and then put them in prison again? So go ahead, Kat.
Can I speak to this? I know I really resonated with what you were saying on this, as far as the battered wife, kind of a sentiment during that, because the person who's involved so emotionally and so personally and whatnot really cannot make a very objective decision on whether or not we need to pursue this legally or whatnot, or politically. So as far as the courts go, once the charges were pressed, or once the police were called or whatever, it's now out of that person's hand. It's not up to them to make the decision anymore, because there is that tug and pull that goes on in the person experiencing it emotionally. So I kind of look at it as a nuclear switch, right? So once the nuclear button has been pushed, we are activated, and we are now looking at protecting the rights, the freedoms, and the responsibility of a citizen to protect all of those things for one another. And whether the person who's involved in it wants to call it off or not, it's kind of out of their hands, because they can't make objective decisions on that anymore, because now it's not really about their individual case. They feel like it is, and that's all they can see and feel about it. But I think we need to pursue the principle of the thing, which is we can't let this continue to happen. And so, I mean, I don't know Sarah personally. I have met her once or twice, but we're not friends or anything like that. But I was really kind of proud of what she did that day at the park, and I was proud of her taking the stand that she did. But I got really, really angry when she apologized, and she made us all look bad. She made it all worse for everyone in the long run, because you can't compromise on principles. When you do, they simply go for the jugular, which is what is exactly happening to her now. And I feel that her apologizing for it is actually part of why she's having to suffer the way she is now.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like we really need to defend the principle of the thing, whether the person involved wants us to continue to do so or not. That's my personal feelings on it, just because I've seen this go south so many times because of exactly what you're talking about, that battered wife syndrome, that just lack of objectivity that you have to have when you're the person involved.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and what kind of message are we sending to the abusive husband when we just back down because the scared wife doesn't want to, press charges?
Yeah, exactly.
That's our sister.
Yeah, we just empower them more. We empower them more.
So that's very good stuff. And one thing that we have to make sure that we maintain is unity among ourselves, because this this type of stuff could really split us, you know, if we don't kind of understand, at least have somewhat of an understanding of like where we're going to stand. I mean, we would want to, have somewhat of an idea of when it is appropriate, when it's not, so these thoughts are really, really good thoughts, so that we're not in the middle of like, needing to activate or needing to do something and we're, in debate or divided amongst each other. And, my intent by basically calling people to go to the sheriff's office was twofold, because one, I felt like at that stage that with that kind of presence immediately like that, like what we did, it would basically back the prosecutors up and they probably wouldn't go any further, right? And then second, it would send a message to all the law enforcement in Idaho that we're not going to tolerate this. But what happened is the message still got sent to everybody, all the law enforcement officers in Idaho. But because she did her public statement, it sent the exact opposite message to the prosecutors. And they were like, we are going after this to make an example out of her, because what they do is they smell fear.
Yeah.
They smell fear, and I've seen it all over for 2 years plus years. And I was in prison with a whole bunch of people that they mostly had terrified, and that's what she's facing now. And now it's very difficult to combat that. Not that we can't, not that she can't, and not that we shouldn't help her. We must help her. I think we have to. But it's going to be much more difficult. And if we activate now, like Mario and Stephanie, are talking, like all of you guys are talking, if we activate now, we have to activate with basically saying, well, we're going to try to defend Sarah's rights, whether Sarah wants us to or not. That's what we have to do already. If we go to the park or we go to the attorney's office, or if we send a letter, it's already going to be received by those people on the other end as, well, this Sarah doesn't want them to do this. And that's just the way, that's the position she's put us in right now. That doesn't mean we still don't do it. And that doesn't mean she's even against us. But that's the stereotype that we have to overcome right now.
Hammond?
Yeah.
So this is kind of the same thing we've got going with the governor. We can't allow him to set a precedent. And if we allow that precedent to be set, then they gain authority over us and they think they can take rights. So whether, we may have to discuss with her that we're defending her rights anyway, just on principle. But, let her know what's happening. She can disavow us or what have you, but, it's still a matter of principle.
I look at it this way, Lee. We're not forcing defense of her rights upon her. We're saying that we have to activate in the defense of others, because the precedence is being set here. And therefore we want to do it with her, but we have to activate in the, because I don't even know if she stood up and said, hey, I was wrong, about what they said, just none of that would matter right now. We would just have to activate. So anyway, any other thoughts on that, on, the political side, when?
Well, just to piggyback off the whole Sarah thing, I think for me, it's making me, the whole conversation we're having right now is making me think sometimes, we might be in these situations where they are our friends or they are our loved ones. and we have to think logically and not emotionally,
Mhm.
and do what's best for the whole of the people as opposed to one. And I know that sounds maybe harsh, and I'm not meaning to be harsh at all, but just the idea that it's a hard situation for anybody to be in when it's a loved one or if it's a friend, because you instantly have that emotional attachment to the whole thing. But talking about, where do you begin and where do you end, and what's the moral compass here of all of this, I think I've taken from this that we have to like really approach this stuff in a very logical manner as opposed to emotional sometimes.
Well, there also is the danger. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, because you're exactly right. And there's the danger in like justifying action on anything because it's for the greater good, right? And because we know how dangerous that can be.
Mhm.
And it does when you say, okay, you guys are called area assistants, and why? Because you are to assist others in their defense, right?
Right.
Well, it's kind of hard to assist somebody in their defense if they don't want it. And so there's that. And then also, where's the end of it? If we just say, okay, look, for the greater good, we're going to act no matter what, where's the end of it? And in reality, it may be better to just say, look, if the person does not want us to, then we don't. And I'm just saying that because then you don't end up, I'm playing both sides here, obviously, because then you don't end up, overstepping and doing something that really is against principle. And so, I don't know. I think we should think about this a little more because one of the things that I've been asked over and over again is like, well, when do we know when to activate the people's rights? And I usually say when someone's rights are infringed upon, right? And they need help. Because that's why we called ourselves assistants, not whatever, not something else, right? So
Right. It's gonna become a case by case basis thing, no matter how we look at it. And with Sarah, we're looking at if if her individual rights, if she feels like her individual rights need defense, and she wants to act on it, we're there. But on the other hand, like I said, setting that precedent, allowing us to stand, now we believe that there's sort of a group right at stake based upon her individual right, and that's dangerous water to tread into because there's no such thing as a group right. So it's all murky.
thank you for pointing that out. That's really good stuff because you're right. There is no such thing as a group right. And we can say to ourselves, well, that possibly could happen to me, right? But that isn't an infringement on rights. And, so, maybe we come back clear full circle that we really did need Sarah's consent. And I'm not saying that's where we set. I don't want, but principally, it might be where we have to stay, and in this situation, we talk to Sarah and we say, look, Sarah, if this becomes precedent, this could be bad for the rest of us down the road, but it's ultimately your right. And we're here to assist you. And if you don't want us to, we won't. And if you do want us to, we will. Then you get asking, okay, does that mean that the person gets to dictate everything that the people's rights does? Because the problem with that is, again, what Jerry Lynn said, or I'm not sure who said it. Yeah, Jerry Lynn said about about the explaining the battered wife syndrome. They're not in a great position to be able to know, and they have emotional trouble understanding and making those decisions. And so anyhow, maybe then it comes down to, hey, the area assistants in that area need to be in unison on what to do. They need to make that decision. They need to understand the principles. And in the case where someone's rights are not, or someone doesn't, want their rights defended, but yet it's so crucial that they are, then maybe the area assistants just have to make that decision in unison and on an individual basis. I don't know. Is that appropriate?
That's
I'd say-
clear to me.
Yeah, I'd say area assistants, we can come together and figure these things out. And, here shortly we'll have a pretty good thumb on the heartbeat of the rest of the area too, so we can figure out where we're all leaning a little bit more.
So I appreciate everything that everybody said, because I didn't want to cause any dissent or anything, but I did want to have some good discussion about it. So I really appreciate that. And like, I'm still working it out personally, so I'm having a personal understanding of this and then a political understanding of it, So for me, that's just my personal problem. But could we maybe with the area 4 people maybe talk about it later, about how we should proceed? I mean, because I don't know. I think it is, in Sarah's case, I think we should maybe talk about it more. And I don't want to cause any division. I want to support whatever the group wants to do. But I think that Lee Joe's last point that Ammon kind of affirmed is really important too. We aren't here to patronize and condescend to adults who make their own decisions, because this is about the individual, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe we could maybe the 4 or 5 of us from area 4 could talk about it more, what to do in the case of Sarah. And then if somebody does decide to approach Sarah and say, hey, we're considering doing this, if we do decide to ask for Sarah's consent, I would not be that person. Like, I'd be the wrong person to do that. But if we could talk about it later, is that okay with you, Stephanie and Mario and Lee Joe and Geraldine?
That's the best plan.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you. That's good. Let's.
And I think it's totally okay to recuse yourself, saying I got conflicts of interest here.
And there's that.
I can't be a part of this.
So this has been that was really great discussion, I thought, about how we're going to end up getting to principles in the people's rights here. And we actually recorded it so we can share it. It's 8:06, so because I was late on, and I appreciate your, I apologize and also appreciate, let's go into, we won't hit legally and physically defense parts right now. We'll save that for another time, because I want to get into training on the website and the app. So, because I believe it's going to be a really great tool, and all of you know, well, should know. If you don't, I'm going to tell you that now you have the capability to communicate with everybody in your area. You can see all the names. You can text and mass email them and send them a secured message. Now, the way the secured message works, and so can everybody log on, or maybe I can share my screen here. I'll share my screen too. So.
Ammon, my battery is about to die. I'm going to have to watch the recording from here on out when I get the power.
Okay, well, come back when you can, or if you can.
Yeah, I'll get in there quick as I can. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go to, let me get out of this thing. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. My internet was so bad that I closed all these, but I'll open them back up here again. So, okay, if everybody can get logged in too, that would be great. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so People's Rights, there's the website of it. which is basically a general website. Man, my internet is terrible right now. I don't know why. Anyway, you have to bear with me. But so you got people's rights here. We're hoping, and we're always open for suggestions, crowdsourcing information, right? Telling us that this doesn't seem to have much impact on me. This does. So, but basically, the homepage of People's Rights is just trying to drive them to fill out the form. Okay, goes down through it. Basically, who would you call? It outlines that it's their responsibility, so forth. You can get through that. There's a video that kind of moves them along, answers the question. Basically, you'd call your neighbors, right? That's who you're going to ultimately call. Then there's the form here. This form, very simple. It looks somewhat familiar, probably, but they can obviously select their state and their area, and put that in, and then that immediately puts them into and creates a login and everything. It sends a message back to their phone to log them into their page. So that's the process. And the same process goes on when they text rights to 80123. It responds back, say, welcome to People Rights, please fill out this form. They click on that, fills this in, and so it adds them to the People's Rights, very same way as filling this form out, okay? That's what this page is designed to do, to get them to sign up, okay? Hit that video there. This is that video with the riots and then the tyranny. That some people didn't like that I used tyranny, but I couldn't find a better word, so basically I used it. Okay, everybody still see my page okay?
Okay, so I just see your calendar.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
That's all I see as well.
So that
You're
whole
running
time I
two
was- that whole
screens, you're
time I
on the
was-
wrong screen.
So hold on. The whole time I was just showing you nothing. So hang on. What do you
Well-
see now?
Calendar.
Calendar.
Huh. Hang on.
Know what you're doing for the rest of the month, Ammon.
It'll make it a little harder if I can't. What about now?
Got it.
Yeah,
That's it.
You see it now?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure what I did, but so People's Rights, basically driving to this form. Okay, that's what the homepage is. So you can ask everybody in the area to share this. Go to peoplesrights.org and share. And basically they'll go down through it, answer the question of who would they call. Ultimately, who are they going to call? They're going to call their neighbors. And in order to do that, it's probably best that they click here, fill out the form. It's the same form you're familiar with, puts them in the right area, then they submit it. Texting rights to 80123 does the exact same thing. It brings them to this form. Okay, so this is so we can recruit and bring more people in, get more neighbors connected, right? You guys still there?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a couple other pieces to the website, your rights. We tried to define rights and basically what, and then and basically answer questions. What's their rights? How do they maintain rights? Another page here. Okay. And then prepare is a little different. Because there's, explanation about being prepared. There's a little bit of stuff, and then they can go down here to resources. And it looks a little weird in Safari. In the other browsers, it's better. But so, like for example, right here is a food storage calculator. So if someone wants to know how much food storage they're going to need, my internet is so slow, and I apologize. So they can calculate, they actually, once it loads, once it loads it, they can actually calculate how much food storage they can use. There's some budget information, like ham radios. We went out and found the best place that we felt to buy ham radios. Man, internet, terrible.
Gotta get that 5G.
Well, I live in Emmett. So anyway, they can go here and buy the ham radio. Defense has a whole bunch of basically things for defense, all the way from gun kit, custom gun builders, to ammunition, to firearms training, to self-defense gear. And this will be added more. And this is under the self-defense part, right? So anyhow, you can get an idea here. I really wanted to show you guys the mortgage calculator, or the, not mortgage calculator, the food calculator. But you can go on there. Your internet's faster than mine, and you can calculate basically how much food storage you need for your family for whatever period of time. So that's the website, okay? Then you come into the login. And most of you have logged in, it sounds like. The first thing can you still see my page?
Yes.
Okay, so log in. In order to log in the first time, you have to put in your mobile phone, and it'll send you a code, correct? And then you go in, so I'm gonna log in here. Do you like my username, Ted? It stands for Ted Bundy.
Fun.
So I'm here in my home page now. Looks a lot different than yours because I got a whole bunch of states that we're working on. But ultimately, you're going to have area, whatever area is, you're going to show of Idaho here. And you're going to have all your contacts down here. And the bottom of your contacts is going to have the areas that are closest to you, right around you. You can see right here where how many are in your area. So in area 3, we got 283. It's kind of cool watching that grow. This right here in your account, the very first thing you'll want to do is make sure your information is correct, and you'll want to put in your own username and password.
I like your skills, by the way.
Well, and you get to determine what username and password. We're not prescribing that. Just kind of as a FYI, your username is your phone number until you change it. So then, of course, update it. Let's get here, again, my internet. So to send a message, okay, to send a message, yours again looks a little different, but let's say we're in Idaho 4 here, and this is what Idaho 4 would look like somewhat. If you wanted to send to all the area assistants, go here. If you want to text or email or secured message, and so you would text, and it'll start with people right, meeting tomorrow morning. Sorry. Okay, anyway, and send. No big deal, right? If you want to add a recipient, you can add them right here, like someone extra, you add them right there, okay? Say you wanted to go to 1 or 2 other people, you can hit that and add it. Then if you hit save, then it'll put it in your draft. Otherwise, you delete it, go out of it. Oh, I went way out. Again, I apologize. My email is, or my internet is terribly slow. So, okay. And then the same goes for the email. The same would go for email, and the same goes for sending the message to everybody or part of everybody. So you just select that for all of it. Go to your text or email. Draft it and send it. Now, the difference between a text and an email and a secured message, it looks about the same, but the difference is, so like this would be one where we send it to everybody. Obviously, I draft the message, and then if you look down here in the bottom, it says basically how do you want the message notification to go out. And what that means is if you say you want to email text or emailed in text, then it's going to send a notification to the person's, let's say you select text, it's going to send a notification. It'll say, you have a secured message inside People's Rights, server or something like it. Click here to receive or to view the message. And then they click on it, and it will bring you into your home page and into the message. The reason why that's important is because then it's not going through like a cell phone server. The message, it's very secure, and it's encrypted inside the server. And so, like, really sensitive things that might be going on that you might be afraid that somebody is able to see, or they might have capabilities of intercepting a message, or whatever the case may be. That's when it would be appropriate to send it through the secured message path, if you will, and it still sends them to their email. It still sends them a notification to their email or text, and so they still get notified, and they can see, oh, there's a secured message. It must be important. They click in it, and then you can see what that message is and respond back through a secured message, and it'll again send a notification to the recipient, and so on and so forth. Any questions on that? No questions. Okay. All right. Let me get out of here because my email or my internet is terrible. So, okay. Any other questions so far about any of it? Pretty straightforward, right? Pretty easy, simple.
If you're not talking, could you please mute? I'm hearing someone eating chips or something, I think. It's a little distracting.
So if you look on the side right here where, my home area is Area 3, Alicia Peterson, Blaine, and Robert are all my area assistants. If I want to contact them individually, obviously I have this option to do this. The green is the secured message. If I want to contact all 3 of them, I can just click one button and it basically gets the message with all three of them in there. Okay. Now, the reason that's important is because this is what your area, the people in your area see. They're going to see all of this. It's going to say, hi, you know, William, you're in area 4. And then they're going to have all of this. And then they're going to be able to, they're not going to have any of this except the area assistants. They will have, and then they'll have all of this over here. Okay. And so basically the system is basically just connecting them to you guys, to the area assistants. Now soon there'll be like content down here for them, information and an area page where you guys can be posting on and all of that, but that's not built yet. Any questions, thoughts so far?
I think it looks great. Very good.
One other thing too that's important, and remember, I'm sharing this with you because so that you can train everybody in your area, because they're going to be contacting you with questions. So the first thing that they need to do when after they log in is they need to go create their username and password. Now, I will say this, they actually don't have, the people don't have to log in, only except for the first time, only you guys do. Because you guys are the ones with all the information. They just have your information and it's a secured link that they have where they can just go right into their home page. But you guys have to log in every time. But either way, the first time they'll want to come in, they want to use the phone number to get in there, and then they're going to want to go to my account right here and change their username and password, update it, and make sure all their information is correct. Hit update, and then they're good. Okay. You might have questions of like, well, what if something is wrong in there? Can I change it as an area assistant? And the answer is no, because the person can change it. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, my phone number, or really my email is wrong, or, you know, my name is spelt wrong, or whatever, then you just say, well, use your phone number to go log in. And the reason we know their phone number is right, because they wouldn't be able to log in the first place if their phone number was not right. Now, if their phone number changes, then right now we don't have a protocol for that other than you let me know, and we'll have to manually go in there and change it. The only other option to that is they actually fill out the form again and create another profile with the right phone number, and then we delete the old one. But if we don't know that, then it will actually create 2 of them, right? And that potentially is a problem. But the phone number is what everything basically relies on as far as identifying the user, the person and the email and everything else. So, you like my skill?
Yes.
Professional government agitator. That's what I've become. Okay. Any
My aspiration in life.
That's right. Yeah, that's all I've been good at my entire life. So why So okay.
I mean, what is the quick meet? I know I was on my phone, and you can like copy and paste a quick link or something. You can save that and or something. Yeah.
Okay, so what John's talking about is, when we first will blast this out to the people, because we haven't blasted it out to them yet. When we first blast this out to them, they will get a phone, message from us. Let's say it's a text. They'll get a message from us from a different phone number than what we used to have, because we had to go on a completely different system, different phone numbers. So it'll be an 800 number or a toll-free number, actually. I think it's an 855 number. Well, the people in your area need to save that as people's rights in their contacts. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So when they get a text from us, the first time they need to save it in their contacts. And we're going to tell that to them when we send the first text. Then from then on, if they want the area assistance phone numbers, and why don't you guys, do you have your phones out? Do you have your phones? Everybody tell me when get your phones out. Go to the phone number that you received the message from me, the last message from me. It should be a toll-free number. And when you get in there, text back to that number, text AA. Like area assistant, AA. Just text AA. Anybody do it yet?
I have.
What did it do?
It sent me the contact list for area assistance for my
Yeah.
area.
Sent your contacts list, and everybody in your area can do the same thing with their phones. And the area assistance in their areas comes back, and they can click on the phone number and call immediately.
Got it.
Or an email. Okay. Now there's one other piece that's really important for you guys to understand, and that is if you text SOS. So let's test it on area 4. Only area 4 do this, because all of you guys are on the call. Let's test it, because I've never tested it. Well, we tested it internally, but not externally. So is area 4 with me?
I'm here.
Okay, text SOS to that people's rights number. Just have, I guess you probably all do it, or maybe one of you do it. Really doesn't matter.
I just did it.
Okay, what did it do?
It said, yeah, send me back a message. People's rights, SOS Mario, immediate assistance needed in defending rights.
Okay, now imagine you're not an area assistant, right? If I text, if I text SOS, it's going to send the message to all 4. Let's say I'm in area 4. I'm in area 4 and I text SOS and I put send. It sends my information to all the area assistants and saying, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are some features that you're going to have to communicate with your areas, the people in your area, so they understand these tools. So first of all, when they log in, they need to create their own username, okay, and password. Then they need to verify that all the information is correct and they can correct it themselves. They need to understand how they can use the app to message all of you guys, text, email, message, and then also how they can use the text reply message that we just went through to get the area assistance phone numbers and emails, contacts, and also in an emergency, how they can text SOS and have the area assistance contact them. Any thoughts or questions?
I think that's pretty cool how it's set up.
Yeah, we see it. I see in the future, like when they text SOS, you know, there might be some. I mean, there might be a lot of options where, like, it sends their location. You know, you know, we could do a lot of different things. It could even activate the camera on their phone. you know, so basically that immediate assistance or immediate awareness of what of the situation, you know, can take place. But this is the first step. Okay.
Sounds great to me.
Okay. So we're at 9 or 8:30. There's a whole bunch more going on, but you can see here now that you have the tools to share or to, you know, get your neighbors educated, get them seeing what people's rights is all about, get them understanding their rights, maintaining, you know, understanding how to maintain rights. There's some preparedness there. Then you can see once they're signed in, how they can be supported in the defense of their rights. And main thing is with these tools, now you guys need to be reaching out to your areas. I would say be pretty active and reach out to them at least twice a week. And, you know, maybe like you need to start, like, for example, with Sarah, once you guys decide what you're going to do there, we'll start activating your area to defend rights, to get together and get to know each other better, to recruit and bring other people in, and just keep using these tools to get neighbors connected together so that when we need it, you know, on whatever level, we can do it. Yeah, so any other thoughts? Let me get back to my, there we go. Any other thoughts before we close? Nothing?
I would just say I think the preparedness part of this is highly relevant today, and having all of that information centralized is very cool and useful, me personally.
And just with that, Mario and all the rest, please, like, if you know something that is really helpful in preparing, right? Give that information to me, email it to me. The area assistants, you have my information, right? You have it on your page. So email it to me like, hey, I saw this website. It's awesome. You know, it goes through steps of what you need to prepare your home if you have to defend it. Or maybe I saw this thing that I really like that, you know, might be, it doesn't matter what it is, you know, and we can put that on the preparedness page because we can build this as long as we want or organize it, you know, or maybe, I mean, whatever else it is. I mean, I see this, we could even get into like all the way, you know, that we felt like this program was a good homeschooling program, right? I mean, all of that kind of stuff could be part of this, so that now we got this tremendous resource where people can go to and become more independent and prepared. It goes all the way from, you know, like I said, buying a gun to homeschool, or, you know, or and everything in between. And that's what it's there for. So, but I only have a specialty in government agitation. Like, that's all I have, you know, and so you guys might have much more understanding of homeschooling, or like Mario, he has a good understanding of like pitchforking, right? You know, where to get a pitchfork. Anyway, point being is everybody's information and adding it in there, you know, as long as we know that it's vetted, we know that it's a solid resource for people to use, and then we add it to the website. So
one thought, Emin, I just you could do a shop. You could have people sell their products on there. I know Brighton.com, that's an alternative site than YouTube. They have their own shop, things that you can't get as easy in like other places.
See, so John, make me up a little. I interrupted you. I apologize.
You're good. That's okay.
I apologize. It's with Zoom, it's kind of hard to know when you were done. But so make me up a little email describing with a link of the website you're talking about. Okay, a little description. Make it easy for me, and we add it to the website. Also, another thing, along with resources, we're going to have an education page. So when you come across videos that you feel like are really educating, then send them to me. Give me the link and send them to me, because we're going to build an education page somehow, media page or education page, so people can really get educated. And it might just be a whole list of videos with good titles so that they can decide what they want to watch or get educated. So you have to activate the people in your area. It's a lot of work. We have to get them using the website, getting familiar with the app, and understanding what it is. But this might be a great reason to have an area meeting and get everybody together, right? What a good excuse. You know, have a potluck and show everybody the website and get them to commit to share them with their neighbors and show them the app side of it. Play around with them. You know, you might have a game at the thing where someone goes hides and then they type SOS and everybody's got to go find you, or the area assistant's got to go find you, or something like that. Just have fun with it. Enjoy it. It's a tool to use to unite us together. So, any other thoughts? Kathy, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think it's a good plan getting together. Which is a point of beginning. We'll figure it out as we go.
Absolutely. So Kathy, you just moved to area 8, right?
Correct.
I mean, we had you in area 2, and now you moved to area 8. So Mel, have you met Kathy yet? Kathy, have you met Mel yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Whether,
Just got sent today. Hi, Mel.
hi. We'll be getting together here soon to meet each
We
other.
will. We will.
Awesome. Oh, okay, well, why don't we end for now? I think it was very productive. Final thoughts, anybody? Okay.
I just want to really quick tell my area for co-assistants that I'm going to be sending a group text to all of you guys, because I'm like thinking of a potluck soon. And we just started our Facebook group for area 4. So area 4, while I just have you, I don't want to like bombard last minute, but can I post in the group? Are you okay if I post in the group reminding who's in the group now to go to peoplesrights.org and update their profile? Can I do that? Okay, cool. I get a thumbs up from Mario. Susan, I can't see you. Geraldine, I can't see you. I get a thumb. Okay, cool. Geraldine, I'm assuming, I don't see you, but I'm assuming you're good with it. Okay, I'll go with that. Cool.
I'm sorry. So I'm not quite sure what you want me to do.
Oh, I'm wondering if you're good with me doing an update, like posting something in our group saying just, hey, everybody take a chance. If you have a minute, go to peoplesrights.org and update your profile if you haven't.
Oh.
Are you good with
Oh,
that?
I see.
Yeah.
You're going to send out a message to that effect. Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great evening. Yes, John, you have something?
I would suggest this Washington get really hard with a lot of stuff going on with their governor, and just watching Area 4, how they're having their meetings, how they are activating on a lot of things now. There's a lady who got arrested because she opened up her business a week early, and I'm just learning a lot from them. I just throw that out there, that I think keeping an eye out on what they're doing, we can learn a lot and prepare if that were to come here, which I hope not. It just sounds horrible. So,
So why People's Rights Washington Facebook page. Kelly Stewart is the area assistant that I know over there. And you're right. I mean, it's terrible what's happening over there, but they are responding very actively and doing a ton of good stuff. So if you want to learn some things, the fire's where you learn it, and the fire's in Washington right now. So absolutely. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good evening.
Thanks.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye-bye.